The fastest way to lose your power is to hand it over through a text. My friends, let that one sink in. Because here's the truth. Every time you reach out when you know you shouldn't, you're not just sending a message, you're sending away a piece of your self-respect. And that's the trap most people never see. They think one more text will fix things, will prove something, will spark something back to life. But no, it usually does the opposite. It kills the little bit of mystery, value, and respect you still had left in their mind. That's why today we're breaking this cycle. And before we dive any deeper, do me a favor, press that like button, hit subscribe, and stick with me. What you're about to hear could save you from years of repeating the same mistake. Hey folks, imagine this. Picture a king stepping off his throne and begging at the gates of his own castle. That's exactly what it looks like when you keep texting someone who doesn't value you. You think you're being strong, you think you're showing love, but really, you're giving away your crown. Another way to see it? It's like tossing gold coins into the ocean and waiting for the waves to bring them back. Pointless, exhausting, and you're the one left broke. See, we've been sold a lie. The lie that reaching out shows strength, that texting them proves you care, that silence means you've given up. But my friends, silence is not giving up. It's growing up. It's choosing dignity over desperation. It's choosing power over pleading. Because here's what nobody tells you. The one who texts less thinks more. The one who stays silent speaks louder. The one who holds back holds the power. And don't get me wrong, I know the itch. I know how your fingers hover over that keyboard. I know how your mind whispers, just one message, just to check in, just to remind them I exist. But let me hit you with a dose of reality. If you have to remind someone you exist, you've already given them too much. You are not a pop-up ad begging for attention. You are not a vending machine that spits out comfort every time someone presses a button. You are the damn prize, and prizes don't chase. There's a quote I love. Never beg to stay where you were never valued, and texting them after they've already shown you where you stand is just begging in digital form. Folks, listen to me. It's not about the blue ticks, the delivered sign, the waiting for 3 dots to appear. That's not love, that's addiction. Addiction to validation, addiction to attention, addiction to crumbs, and you're better than crumbs. Imagine being a song that plays on repeat, always there, always available. After a while, they don't even hear the lyrics anymore, it's just background noise. But the second that song disappears from the playlist, suddenly they're searching for it, suddenly they're missing it, suddenly they're realizing the silence feels too loud. That's what happens when you stop texting. Your silence becomes their reminder. Your absence becomes their question mark. So, let's be clear, you're not losing when you stop texting. You're winning. You're not being weak by going silent. You're being wise. You're not disappearing. You're elevating. And when they realize your attention isn't free, that's when the real shift begins. That's when they start wondering. That's when they start leaning in. So here's what I want you to do. Right now, write this in the comments. I choose silence. That's your affirmation today. Short, powerful, unforgettable. Type it, say it, own it, show yourself, show the world, show them. And while you're at it, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because we're about to dive even deeper into why you must never text them again, and why your silence is the most powerful message you'll ever send. Number 1, the illusion of control. Every text you send to someone who disrespected your presence is not a step forward, it's a step down. My friends, let's hit this one straight. They want you to believe that reaching out means strength, that by texting them, you're somehow in control of the situation. But here's the truth. Every time you hit send, you're giving away your power. You're trading dignity for a temporary illusion of control. It feels like you're doing something, like you're making progress, but in reality, you're just digging yourself deeper into a hole you should have already climbed out of. Imagine this. You're standing in a chess game, and instead of protecting your queen, you hand it over to your opponent, smiling, proud, saying, "Look, I care so much. I'll give you the most valuable piece I have." Tell me, would you ever win a game like that? Of course not. And yet, when you keep texting them, when you keep knocking on a door that's been slammed in your face, you're doing exactly that, handing away your queen, your power, your worth. Now I know what you're thinking. The questions hit late at night, when silence feels heavier than words. What if I don't text and they forget me? What if they move on? What if my silence is the reason it all ends for good? And that fear, it eats at you. It convinces you that texting is the safer option, that silence is too risky. But pause with me. Think for a moment. If your entire relationship, your entire worth in their eyes, can be destroyed by your silence, did you ever have anything real in the first place? Or were you just propping up something that should have collapsed a long time ago? There's a lie people carry in their hearts. If I just reach out, I can fix this. No, my friends, you can't fix something that was never built on respect to begin with. You can't glue together broken glass with one more text. You'll only cut yourself deeper. And yet so many keep trying, keep bleeding, keep handing out their attention like free samples at a grocery store, hoping someone finally tastes and buys. But love isn't a free sample. Respect isn't bought with desperation. Attention isn't earned by begging for replies. Think about it. Why do they feel so comfortable ignoring you? Why do they act so casual when you're pouring out paragraphs? Because they know you'll always send another. They know you'll always be there. Your consistency turned into their entitlement. Your effort turned into their comfort zone. That's why texting feels like control, but it's really surrender. You're trying to control what they think, how they feel, what they remember. But in the process, you're showing them that you have no control at all. Let me paint this picture another way. Imagine you're tossing pebbles into a deep, dark well. Every text you send echoes, bounces, disappears, and not once does the well send something back up. You convince yourself maybe the next pebble will get a response. Maybe the next stone will reach the bottom and finally bring you closure. But all you're really doing is emptying your pockets into emptiness. That's not control, that's self-destruction. And here's the twist. They know it. They feel it. They recognize your patterns. They might not say it out loud, but each time you reach out, each time you try to control the story through your words, you confirm their belief that you're still hooked, still waiting, still available. And tell me, what's attractive about someone who refuses to walk away from a table where they're not even being served? Nothing. That's why every desperate text kills the little bit of respect they still had for you. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. The silence feels like fire. The waiting feels unbearable. Your mind races with what-ifs and maybe they'll change. But here's the power move. What if the very thing you're afraid of, them forgetting you, is the very thing that saves you? What if your silence doesn't erase you, but instead finally shows them what they threw away? Because let's be real, people don't lose sleep over the ones who begged to stay. They lose sleep over the ones who walked away without a word. There's a quote I want you to hold close. The one who speaks less holds more. And that's what silence gives you. The one who texts less thinks more. The one who stays quiet speaks louder. The one who doesn't explain becomes the explanation. That's real control, not controlling them, but controlling yourself. That's the kind of strength they never saw coming. But the difficulty lies in letting go of the illusion. You were taught that effort equals love, that proving yourself equals value, that chasing shows how serious you are, and breaking free from that conditioning feels like betrayal, not just of them, but of yourself. But it's not betrayal, it's rebirth. You're not losing by holding back, you're winning. You're not becoming invisible, you're becoming unforgettable. Because absence doesn't erase, it echoes, and silence doesn't hide, it haunts. So the next time your hand hovers over that keyboard, the next time your heart screams, send it, just one message, just to keep the connection alive. Remind yourself, the connection was already broken. You're not keeping anything alive, you're just keeping yourself chained. And your silence? That's the key. My friends, your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Your silence is not defeat, it's discipline. Your silence is not the end, it's the beginning of a story they never thought they'd have to read without you. And the best part, you don't even have to write another line. So here's what I want you to declare right now. Type it in the comments, say it out loud, let it echo in your chest. I don't chase with texts, I choose with silence. Write it, own it, show them, show yourself, show the world around you that your power doesn't live in the words you send, it lives in the ones you withhold. And stay with me, because what's coming next will dig even deeper. We're about to uncover why chasing them with constant availability doesn't prove your love, it erases your value. What you're about to hear will shift the way you see attention, effort, and emotional investment forever. Number 2. When they're always available, they become invisible. Nothing rare is ever taken for granted. Nothing common is ever truly valued. My friends, let's face a hard truth. When they can reach you any time, they'll value you at no time. That's the paradox most people never see. You think being always available makes you the strong one, the dependable one, the loyal one. But in reality, the more you give without pause, the less they see it. The more you show up without being asked, the more invisible you become. Picture this for a moment. Imagine walking past a fountain in the middle of your city. It's always there. Water always flowing, always reliable, always shining in the sunlight. After a while, do you even notice it anymore? No, it becomes part of the background. You stop appreciating the sound, the beauty, the refreshment, because it's constant. Now imagine that same fountain suddenly runs dry. Silence. Emptiness. The absence makes people stop, look twice, and realize how much they'd gotten used to without ever valuing it. That's exactly what happens to you when you're always available. They stop noticing the gift of your presence until you take it away. And here's the lie society sells you. If I keep showing up, they'll finally understand my worth. Folks, that's the trap. That's the cycle that keeps you running in circles. You think consistency equals love. You think quick replies prove care. You think never missing a call will one day make them realize how rare you are. But let me shatter that for you right now. Availability doesn't prove your value, it hides it. Diamonds aren't lying on sidewalks. Gold isn't found in kitchen drawers. The things people respect most are scarce, limited, protected. So let's break the illusion. You're not being noble by being a 24-hour convenience store, emotionally open on demand. You're being drained. You're teaching them that no matter how little they give, you'll keep pouring. And what does that teach them about you? That your time, your energy, your love are all free refills. That's not loyalty, it's self-betrayal. Think about how many times you've dropped everything just to respond, just to keep them happy, just to avoid the silence. Think about how many times you've rearranged your day for someone who couldn't even text back with effort. And still, you told yourself, if I'm always here, they'll never leave. But here's the bitter truth. They left long before because you made your presence so predictable, it stopped feeling special. Imagine this. You're a lighthouse, bright, guiding, always shining through the darkest storms. At first, it's a miracle to anyone lost at sea, but what happens when the sailors stop respecting the light? They assume it'll always be there. They stop being grateful. They stop caring. Until one day, the light goes out. Not because it's broken, but because it finally realized no one ever docked there. They just passed by, using its guidance without ever staying. My friends, that's what your availability has turned into, a background light, taken for granted, expected, but not respected. Now, I know the fear. Deep down, you're thinking, but what if pulling back makes them forget me? What if being less available makes them move on to someone else? Let me tell you straight. If being less available is all it takes for them to move on, they were never really there in the first place. If they forget you when you stop giving them constant access, they weren't with you. They were with the version of you that kept handing them free energy without asking for respect in return. Here's the paradox. The more available you are, the less valuable you seem. The less available you are, the more valuable you become. Why? Because people only respect what they fear losing. And if you're always one message away, always ready to respond, always waiting in the wings, where's the fear? Where's the urgency? Where's the respect? They'll only start to feel your worth when you stop giving them unlimited access. There's a quote I want you to remember. If you act like you can be replaced, don't be surprised when you are. That's what constant availability teaches them, that you're easy to reach, easy to ignore, and easy to take for granted. But when you set boundaries, when you pull back, when you choose to protect your time and your energy, you become rare again, and rare is respected. Let me give you another picture. Imagine walking into a 5-star restaurant. Limited seating, exclusive, high demand. You wait for the experience, and when you finally get it, you savor every bite because you know it's special. Now compare that to a fast food drive-through, open 24/7, cheap, quick, easy. Which one do people respect more? Which one do they talk about? Which one do they line up for? My friends, your attention, your presence, your time, it's the 5-star meal. Stop serving it like drive-through burgers to people who don't even say thank you. And let me be clear, you're not doing this to manipulate. You're not pulling back to play games. You're pulling back because your soul can't keep bleeding for people who don't care if you're bleeding. You're pulling back because your peace is too expensive to give away to people who only show up when it's convenient. You're pulling back because your worth can't be proven by constant availability. It's proven by rare, intentional presence. But here's why it's hard. You've been conditioned to believe that availability equals love, that answering fast proves you care, that giving more will finally make them stay. And breaking free from that conditioning feels terrifying. It feels like risking everything. But let me tell you this, it's not a risk, it's a revelation. Because the right people? They don't disappear when you set boundaries. They don't get scared off when you value yourself. They lean in, they rise up, they match your energy. The wrong ones, though, they'll fall away. And good, let them. Because that's not loss, that's clarity. That's the trash taking itself out. That's life showing you who was there for your availability, not your value. And trust me, you'll thank yourself later for not wasting more of your years feeding someone who only showed up to eat, never to give back. So the next time you feel that urge to be always available, to reply instantly, to bend your schedule, remind yourself, your availability isn't proof of love, it's proof of fear. And fear never built a relationship worth keeping. But boundaries, scarcity, self-respect, that's what creates value. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what shifts you from being an option to being the prize. So here's your affirmation for today. I am not always available because I am valuable. Write it in the comments right now. Let the world see it. Let them see it. Let you see it. Because when you choose to step back, you don't lose. They finally learn what losing you feels like. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're going even deeper. We're going to talk about why your attention isn't just communication, it's energy. It's the very food they've been feeding off, and once you cut that supply, that's when the game really changes. Number 3, attention is energy, and they've been feeding off yours. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, something grows. But here's the problem, not everything deserves to grow. My friends, let's get real for a moment. Your attention is not free. It costs you time, energy, emotion, peace. Every glance at your phone, every message you send, every little check-in, those aren't just harmless habits, they are transactions. You are handing over your energy like currency, and the person on the other end, they've been living off it without ever paying you back. Imagine your attention as sunlight. Wherever it shines, life begins. Plants stretch toward it, flowers bloom in it, and even weeds rise up under its warmth. Now here's the twist. What if all your sunlight is being wasted on weeds? They grow tall, they spread wide, they choke your garden, and suddenly the flowers you should have been watering are left in the shadows. That's what happens when you keep pouring your attention into someone who only takes but never gives. They're the weeds, my friends, and your energy is their sunlight. But here's the lie you've been carrying. If I just give a little more, they'll finally realize how much I care. You've convinced yourself that consistency equals love, that being the one who always reaches out makes you strong. But let me break that illusion right now. Every time you text first, every time you double-check their stories, every time you throw out one more just thinking of you message, you're not proving love. You're feeding their ego. You're not building a bond. You're maintaining their addiction to your validation. Let me hit you with a picture. Imagine being the charger for someone's dying phone. They plug in every time their battery runs low. You keep fueling them, charging them, keeping them alive. But here's the catch. They never ask if your battery is running low. They never check if your power bank is drained. They never even think about whether you've got enough energy left for yourself. That's what this cycle feels like. You're the charger, and they're the user. And the longer you keep plugging in, the more drained you become, while they walk away at 100%. Now I know what you're thinking. The fear creeps in. But if I stop giving them my attention, won't they forget me? Won't my silence push them away for good? Won't I regret not keeping that connection alive? But pause. Think about it. If your presence in their life is only alive because you keep feeding it, is it really life? Or is it just a machine that shuts off the moment you stop pushing the button? Real connections don't need constant feeding to survive. Fake ones, fragile ones, selfish ones, they do. And here's the twist nobody told you. Attention is emotional currency. Spend it on the wrong people and you'll go bankrupt. And bankruptcy of the soul is worse than anything else. You're left empty, drained, tired, hollow. And still, you whisper, maybe if I give a little more, this time it will work. No, my friends, that's not love speaking. That's addiction. And addiction only stops when you starve it. Let me give you another picture. Imagine standing on a stage with a spotlight. The beam is on you. It's warm, it's powerful, it makes you the center of the room. But the second you take that spotlight and shine it on someone else, they get the glow, they get the warmth, they get the attention. And if they're the wrong person, they'll just bask in it for a while and then walk away, leaving you in the dark. Your attention is that spotlight. Every time you shine it, you're giving someone a stage. But ask yourself, are they clapping back? Are they applauding your presence? Or are they just using your light to feel important until they find another source? This is the lie you've been fed. Attention is harmless. No, it's power, it's fuel, it's life, and the ones who know it, they're addicted to it. They're not addicted to you, they're addicted to how you make them feel, to the little ego boosts when your name pops up, to the dopamine hit when they see you watching their story, to the validation they get when you reach out first. That's not love, that's supply. That's not intimacy, that's dependency. And here's the kicker. The moment you stop feeding that supply, the moment you stop sending those texts, stop liking those posts, stop checking in, they notice. Oh, they notice. Because silence starves the ego. And when the ego starves, it starts panicking. Where did they go? Why aren't they reaching out? Who are they giving their attention to now? Suddenly, your silence becomes louder than all the paragraphs you ever sent. But here's why it feels so hard to stop. You've been trained to believe that giving equals value, that being the first to reach out means you care more, that attention is your weapon to keep someone close. But in truth, it's your weakness. Because every time you give it without return, you're showing them they don't need to do anything to earn it. And anything that comes without effort will always be taken for granted. Let me say this plain. You are not an emotional ATM. You are not a vending machine that spits out love when someone presses a button. You are not a charger for someone's battery. You are the damn source. You are the power plant. You are the experience. And when you forget that, when you let them drain you dry, you're betraying the very energy that makes you rare. So let's flip it. What happens when you stop feeding their ego? When you stop handing out your energy like Halloween candy, they notice the hunger. They feel the emptiness. They realize the light has gone out. And in that silence, in that absence, in that pause, they start replaying every memory, every moment, every laugh, every little bit of you they took for granted. Because people don't remember the ones who kept showing up no matter what. They remember the ones who disappeared without explanation. And that, my friends, is your power. Not in words, not in constant attention, not in being their comfort zone. Your power lives in your energy, and when you choose where it flows, you choose your life. So here's your affirmation today. My attention is power. I choose where it flows. Write it in the comments. Own it. Type it. Say it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your energy is not free, your attention is not cheap, and your love is not a refill. And stay with me, because what's coming next will shake them even deeper. We're going to step into the battlefield of the mind. What happens inside their head the moment you go silent. How your absence becomes the echo they can't escape, and why silence isn't weakness. It's the loudest scream they'll ever hear. Number 4, when you disappear, their mind starts speaking. Your silence will speak in places your words never reached. My friends, let's cut deep here. When you disappear, something dangerous doesn't happen to you. It happens to them. See, you think you're the one losing by staying quiet, that your silence means surrender, that you're the one sitting in pain while they live free. But the truth? The second you disappear, their mind starts working overtime. Your silence becomes the conversation they never thought they'd have with themselves. Imagine being in a crowded room, music blasting, people laughing, everything loud and distracting. You feel comfortable because the noise drowns out the thoughts you don't want to face. Now imagine that music suddenly cuts. Dead silence, no laughter, no sound, just the echo of your own breathing. What happens? The mind panics. It starts filling the void with questions, memories, guilt, and curiosity. That's exactly what happens to them when you go quiet. Your voice, your warmth, your presence. It was their background music. They took it for granted while it was there. But once it stops, the silence haunts them. And don't get it twisted, they may act like they're unbothered. They may laugh louder, post more, surround themselves with noise to fill the gap. But when the party's over, when the phone is silent, when the lights are off, that's when your absence speaks. That's when the mind replays every little detail they once dismissed. That's when the messages you used to send come back as echoes. They didn't notice them when they were there, but now that they're gone, each good morning weighs heavy. Each memory hits harder. Each smile feels like a ghost in the room. Here's the lie you've been believing, that silence will make them forget you. But my friends, people don't forget what haunts them, and absence is the greatest haunting of all. Words can be ignored, calls can be declined. But silence? Silence is a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. They start asking questions they never cared to ask before. Why aren't they reaching out? Did I push them too far? Are they with someone else now? Did I matter at all? Their ego, the same one that felt so strong when you were always there, begins to starve. And when an ego starves, it screams, it claws, it panics. That's why your silence shakes them harder than any message you could have sent. Let's use another picture. Imagine being used to drinking from a river every single day. The water is fresh, flowing, always there. You drink when you're thirsty, you splash when you're bored, you bathe when you want comfort. You never stop to ask, what if the river dries up? Because in your mind, it's endless. But one morning, you walk down and the riverbed is dry. No sound, no flow, nothing. Suddenly, thirst kicks in, panic follows, and you realize the thing you treated like it was guaranteed was the very thing you couldn't live without. That's your attention. That's your presence. They drank from it like it would never end. But when you disappear, they're left choking on the dust. And here's why it's so hard for you. Deep down, you still feel like you're the one losing. You think silence is punishment for you, not them. You think staying quiet means they'll just move on happily while you sit in pain. But no, silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. You're not disappearing to punish. You're disappearing to protect. You're not going quiet to play games. You're going quiet to heal. And in that healing, something powerful happens. They're forced to face the reflection of who they were to you. Because let's be brutally honest, they weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing your attention, your energy, your validation. And now that it's gone, the panic sets in. Your silence becomes a test they never prepared for. And trust me, most people fail it. They'll start imagining scenarios. They'll start projecting. They'll start realizing the comfort they once had isn't coming back. But here's the beauty. You don't even have to do anything. You don't need to send a final message. You don't need to explain yourself one more time. You don't need to slam doors or scream your worth. Your absence screams for you. It whispers in their quiet moments. It yells in their loneliness. It echoes in their mind. And the more they try to drown it out, the louder it becomes. Now, some of you are scared. You're thinking, what if my silence doesn't affect them at all? What if they truly don't care? But let me flip that for you. If your silence doesn't move them, if your disappearance doesn't cause even a ripple, then my friend, that's the clearest answer you could ever ask for, because it means they never cared to begin with. And that's not your loss, it's your liberation. There's a quote I love. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. And that's the truth. Your silence gives you clarity about who values you and who only valued the convenience of you. Your silence reveals whether they were with you or just with the comfort of you. And in both cases, you win. Because either they're shaken awake or you're freed from the chains of people who never deserved your sound. But let's not lie, it's still hard. The nights feel heavy. The doubts creep in. The urge to break silence gets stronger. You feel invisible. You feel like disappearing makes you weaker. But remember this, disappearing doesn't make you weak. It makes you unforgettable. Nobody obsesses over the one who stayed no matter what. People obsess over the one who stopped showing up. People remember the silence that replaced the noise. People crave the mystery of the unsent message. Think about the movies you love most, the ones that stick with you. Are they the ones with predictable endings, or the ones that left you with a cliffhanger, wondering what could have been? Exactly. You become that cliffhanger when you disappear. You become the unfinished story, the unresolved plot, the what-if they can't shake. That's the power of silence. It turns you into a question mark they keep rereading. So the next time your hand shakes, the next time your heart screams to reach out, remind yourself, your silence is speaking louder than your words ever could. Your silence is planting thoughts in their mind they never expected to face. Your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not the end, it's the beginning of their reckoning. So here's your affirmation for today. My silence speaks for me. Write it in the comments. Type it, claim it. Let it echo across your timeline, across your soul. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that you don't need to argue to be understood. You only need to disappear to be remembered. And stay with me, my friends, because next we're taking this to an even deeper level. We'll uncover what happens when your silence doesn't just shake them, it turns you into a mystery. The mystery they can't decode, the mystery they can't control, the mystery they can't replace. And trust me, that's when obsession begins. Number 5, you become a mystery, and mystery is magnetic. People don't chase what they fully understand. They chase what they can't figure out. My friends, here's where things get interesting. When you disappear, when you stop sending those messages, when you refuse to explain yourself one more time, you transform. You shift from being predictable, available, easy to read, to something they never expected, a mystery. And mystery, my friends, is magnetic. Think about it. When you were always explaining, always replying, always giving them every detail of your thoughts and feelings, you were like an open book lying on the table. They could skim through you at will. They could read a few lines, skip a few pages, even close the cover and pick it back up whenever they felt like it. You were there, ready, waiting. But now the book has closed. And not only has it closed, you've walked off with it. No closure, no last chapter, no explanation, just silence. And silence turns you from predictable to unforgettable. Because here's the thing, people don't stay up at night obsessing over stories that ended neatly. They obsess over the ones that left them hanging, the ones with cliffhangers, the ones that left them asking, what happened? What did I miss? Did I overlook something? That's you now. The cliffhanger, the unresolved plot, the character who walked off stage mid-scene. And trust me, they can't stop replaying it. Let me paint this with another metaphor. Imagine watching a movie you think you've figured out. The plot is simple, the characters are clear, you know exactly how it'll end. You stop paying full attention because you're convinced you already know the story. But suddenly, the screen cuts to black. No ending, no credits, no explanation, just silence. What happens? Your mind races. You start rewinding scenes, searching for clues, wondering what you missed. That's what happens in their mind when you pull away. You become that unfinished movie they can't stop analyzing. And here's the lie you believed, that by staying silent, you'd make yourself invisible, that by holding back, you'd fade from their mind. But no, what fades is what's predictable. What disappears is what's always there. What haunts is what left without a trace. That's why mystery is so powerful. Because in silence, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability makes people lean forward, searching for answers they'll never find. Now, let's be honest. I know why you struggle with this, because you've been taught that love means clarity, that if you don't explain yourself, you're being unfair, that if you don't keep showing your heart, they'll never know it's real. But the truth is, you already gave them enough clarity. You already showed them your heart. You already made it clear who you were, what you wanted, and how you loved. And they ignored it. They skimmed it. They dismissed it. So why give more? Why explain again? Why keep narrating to someone who never listened? Mystery isn't about hiding. It's about protecting. It's about choosing silence over self-betrayal. It's about realizing you don't owe endless explanations to people who couldn't appreciate your words the first time. And when you do that, when you stop giving them a manual on how to love you, you suddenly become the puzzle they can't solve. And puzzles keep people hooked. Let's go deeper. When you were always available, they had a formula for you. Text you this, you respond that. Pull away, and you chase. Ignore, and you double text. They had you mapped out like a game they knew how to win. But now, the formula doesn't work. The rules don't apply. The buttons don't push the same reactions. And that uncertainty, that lack of control, drives them insane. Humans crave patterns. We feel safe when we can predict outcomes. And when someone suddenly shifts, when someone refuses to play by the old rules, we can't stop thinking about them. That's you now. You are the unsolved pattern. Let me put it this way. You were once a song they could sing by heart. Same rhythm, same melody, same chorus on repeat. But now, you've gone silent. The music stopped mid-verse. And now they're humming it in their head, desperate to remember the parts they ignored. That silence makes the song unforgettable. That's the paradox. When you stop playing, you become the only song stuck in their mind. But here's what makes it so powerful. It's not that you suddenly became mysterious. You always had depth. You always had layers. You always had complexity they never cared to discover because you made yourself too easy to reach. You unfolded yourself in their hands before they ever asked to read. You gave away the ending before they even paid attention to the beginning. And now that you've gone quiet, now that you've pulled back, they're realizing they never really knew you at all. That mystery isn't new. It's been there all along. They just didn't bother to look until now. And I know what your heart whispers. But will this work? Will silence really make them care? Will becoming a mystery make me unforgettable? My friend, that's the wrong question. Because the real point isn't whether they care. It's that you finally do. That you finally care enough about yourself to stop oversharing, over-explaining, over-giving. You finally care enough to let silence guard your worth. And when you do that, you stop being predictable and you start being powerful. Remember this, people don't chase clarity, they chase confusion. They don't chase what's already in their pocket, they chase what slipped through their fingers. They don't chase the ones who stayed, they chase the ones who left questions unanswered. And that's exactly what you become when you go silent. Not petty, not cruel, not manipulative, but magnetic. Because mystery isn't about games, it's about gravity. The kind of pull that happens when someone realizes they no longer know how to read you. The kind of curiosity that gnaws at their mind when they can't predict your next move. The kind of regret that grows when they realize they missed chapters they'll never get to read again. That's what makes silence so addictive. It leaves space, and space makes them fill it with you. So let me tell you this plain. Stop fearing that your silence makes you forgettable. It doesn't. It makes you unforgettable. Stop worrying that mystery makes them stop caring. It doesn't. It makes them start wondering. Stop believing that silence means you've disappeared. It doesn't. It means you've elevated. So here's your affirmation for today. I am the mystery they'll never solve. Write it in the comments right now. Say it, type it, own it, show them, show yourself. Show the world around you that you're done being an open book for people who never bothered to read. You are a whole story, layered, complex, and not everyone gets access to the next chapter. And stay with me, my friends, because what's coming next will flip the game even harder. We're about to uncover what happens when you pull back completely and they're forced to lean in. When distance doesn't push them away, it drags them toward you. When the hunter becomes the hunted. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Number 6. The more you pull back, the more they lean in. The magnet never chases the metal, it simply pulls by staying still. My friends, let's get straight to it. You've been convinced your whole life that chasing proves love, that effort means loyalty, that the one who gives more somehow wins the game. But let me break that illusion for you today. The more you pull back, the more they lean in. That's the paradox of power. That's the law of attraction, not just in science, but in psychology, in relationships, in life. Think about a magnet. It doesn't run after the nails. It doesn't scream, "Come here, notice me, stay close." It sits still, silent, steady, and yet everything drawn to it feels the pull without it lifting a finger. That's what happens when you stop chasing. You become the magnet, and the ones meant to be near you can't resist being pulled closer. But here's the lie you've been fed. If I stop trying, they'll forget me. If I don't reach out, I'll lose them forever. If I go quiet, the connection will die. No, my friends, if silence kills the connection, it wasn't real to begin with. If pulling back makes them vanish, they were never leaning toward you in the first place. They were leaning on your effort, your availability, your chase. The only thing you lose by pulling back is the illusion that effort was keeping something alive that was already dead. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know the fear. But what if I pull back and they never come forward? What if they take my silence as rejection? What if I miss my chance? But let me flip that for you. Why should love depend on you breaking yourself down to keep someone interested? Why should loyalty depend on you carrying both sides of the connection? If someone only shows up because you keep pulling them in, that's not love. It's convenience. That's not loyalty. It's comfort. And comfort isn't what you deserve. You deserve presence. You deserve effort. You deserve someone who leans in on their own. Let's put it in a picture. Imagine you're at a tug-of-war rope. For so long, you've been pulling with everything you've got, sweating, straining, fighting, while the other person just leans back, barely gripping the rope. And you keep thinking, if I just pull harder, maybe they'll start pulling too. But they don't. They get comfortable. They let you do all the work until one day you drop the rope. Silence, stillness, and suddenly they stumble forward. Not because you begged, not because you explained, but because you stopped holding them up. That's the power of pulling back. It forces people to feel the weight of their own inaction. And here's what's wild, they will notice. At first, they may act like they don't care. They may act louder, post more, laugh harder, just to prove they're unbothered. But that's all noise, my friends. Because when the lights go out, when the crowd disappears, when they're left alone with their thoughts, the quiet hits. The space you used to fill feels heavy. The effort you used to give feels absent. And that absence, it burns. It makes them restless. It makes them wonder. It makes them lean in. There's a law in psychology called reactance. It says people crave most the very thing they feel is slipping away. The second access is restricted. Value skyrockets. That's why limited seats sell faster. That's why rare items feel priceless. And that's why your silence shakes them to their core. Because for the first time, they don't have unlimited access to you. For the first time, you're not one text away. For the first time, they can't predict your reaction, and that loss of access creates the pull. Now here's why it's hard. You've been conditioned to believe that giving more is noble, that showing up all the time is strength, that effort is proof of worth. But listen to me, there is a difference between effort and overextension. Effort is healthy when it's mutual. Overextension is deadly when it's one-sided. You've been overextending, chasing, pulling, proving, and in the process, you've been bleeding for someone who never even noticed you were bleeding. Pulling back feels like betrayal to your old habits. But it's not betrayal, it's balance. Think about this metaphor. You're a fire. You've been burning constantly, giving warmth, giving light, keeping the cold away, and they never thanked you for the heat. They just sat there, taking it for granted. But the second you let the fire go out, suddenly they're shivering. Suddenly they realize what they lost. That's what pulling back does. It takes away the comfort they abused. It forces them to lean toward the fire instead of just sitting back, expecting it to burn forever. And let me tell you another truth. They will lean in differently. When you stop chasing, some will lean in with effort, finally realizing they have to step up if they want to keep you. And others, they'll lean back permanently, showing you they were never willing to move forward in the first place. And both outcomes are wins, because either you gain the respect you always deserved, or you gain the clarity you always needed. Silence sorts people faster than words ever could. But here's the beauty. You don't even have to plan it. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to script your next move. All you have to do is stop overextending. All you have to do is step back. All you have to do is let silence do what noise never could. And the pull begins, because humans crave what they can't control. They crave what feels scarce. They crave what suddenly feels distant. And when you stop handing them unlimited access, you transform from convenience into rarity. And rarity is irresistible. So the next time your fingers hover over the keyboard, desperate to close the gap, remind yourself, you are the magnet, not the chaser. You don't run, you don't beg, you don't plead. You pull without moving, you attract without chasing, you command without words. And here's the paradox. The moment you finally stop leaning in is the moment they realize how much they leaned on you. The moment you stop knocking on doors is the moment they realize they never opened them. The moment you stop chasing is the moment they start running toward you. So here's your affirmation for today. My silence makes space for truth. Write it in the comments. Say it out loud. Claim it as your own. Show them, show yourself, show the world that pulling back isn't weakness, it's wisdom, that silence isn't absence, it's gravity, that you don't chase, you attract. And stay with me, my friends, because what's coming next will break one of the biggest lies you've ever believed, that ignoring someone is cruel. We're about to uncover the truth that silence isn't punishment, it's protection. And that shift, that's where your real power begins. Number 7, ignoring isn't cruel, it's clarity. Silence is not cruelty, it's the language of self-respect. My friends, let me break something heavy right now. The world wants you to believe that ignoring someone makes you cold, that if you don't respond, you're being heartless, that silence equals immaturity. But here's the truth, they're lying to you. Ignoring isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's the cleanest, sharpest message you can send without saying a single word. See, real cruelty wasn't you going quiet. Real cruelty was how they treated your presence when they had it. Real cruelty was when they took your love and treated it like background noise. Real cruelty was when they responded when it was convenient, ignored when it wasn't, and made you fight for the bare minimum while they gave nothing back. That was the disrespect. That was the heartlessness. That was the immaturity. And now they want to paint you as the villain for finally pulling back. Please, you're not being cruel. You're being done. Imagine this. You've been running a 5-star restaurant. Every night you serve gourmet meals, your time, your energy, your attention, your love. And how do they treat it? Like fast food. They show up late. They don't tip. They complain about the service. And sometimes they don't show up at all. But you keep cooking, keep serving, keep hoping one day they'll realize what they've been eating. Until finally, one night, you turn off the lights, lock the doors, and walk away. No shouting, no final warning, no performance, just closed. Tell me, was that cruel, or was that clarity? You simply stopped feeding someone who never appreciated the meal, and that's what ignoring really is. It's not a punishment, it's a boundary. It's you finally saying, I will no longer pour into people who never poured into me. You're not starving them, you're finally feeding yourself. But I know the battle inside you. The doubts creep in, the guilt gnaws at you, the questions echo at night. Am I being too harsh? What if they're hurting too? What if ignoring them pushes them away forever? And that fear convinces you that responding is safer, kinder, easier. But listen closely. If silence is all it takes to lose them, then they were never there to begin with. Because the ones meant for you, the ones truly invested, they don't need constant ego boosts to remember your value. They don't need you chasing, explaining, begging. They show up, they stay, they put effort in. And the ones who vanish, they weren't love, they were distraction. There's a quote that hits hard. You don't owe closure to someone who gave you chaos. My friends, let that sink in. You don't owe explanations to people who never listened when you spoke. You don't owe responses to people who only answered when it suited them. You don't owe availability to people who couldn't value your presence when it was a gift. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself clarity. You owe yourself the discipline to protect your soul from the same cycles that broke you. Ignoring isn't you being cold, it's you being healed. Because when you no longer respond to the same patterns, it's proof that you've outgrown them. When you no longer take the bait, it's proof that you've broken the chain. When you no longer explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, it's proof that you finally love yourself more than you love convincing them. Now, let me be real. Your silence will hurt them. It will make them wonder. It will make them question. It will make them feel what they made you feel. But that's not cruelty. That's consequence. Not revenge, not punishment, consequence. Because energy is a circle. What they gave out has finally returned to them, and it's not your job to save them from the echo of their own actions. And let me tell you something else. They will notice. Maybe not out loud, maybe not in front of others, maybe not in a way you'll ever see, but they will feel it. They will replay every memory, rethink every moment, reevaluate every choice. Not because you shouted, not because you explained, but because you didn't. That's the power of no response. That's the power of stillness. That's the power of ignoring with purpose. And if they don't notice, if your silence doesn't stir them at all, then good. That's your answer. That's the gift. Because it shows you they were never invested in the first place. And isn't it better to know that now than waste another year bleeding for someone who never cared whether you were bleeding? Isn't it better to be free than chained to false hope? So the next time your mind tries to guilt trip you, the next time your fingers hover over that keyboard, the next time your heart whispers just one more reply, remind yourself, ignoring isn't cruelty. Ignoring is clarity. Ignoring is self-respect. Ignoring is protection. And protection is love. Love for yourself. Love for your peace. Love for the person you're becoming. Here's your affirmation for today. My silence is not punishment. It's protection. Write it in the comments right now. Type it. Say it. Own it. Show them, show yourself, show the world around you that you are done apologizing for protecting your peace. That you no longer hand out access to your energy for free. That you finally understood the power of no response. So if this message hits deep, if it shakes something inside you, if you know you needed to hear this today, do me a favor. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs the reminder that silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because, my friends, this isn't just about ignoring someone else. This is about choosing you, choosing your peace, choosing your self-worth. And the moment you choose that, the whole game changes.